morning and welcome to Rising. I'm Amber Athey and I am back with Jessica Burbank to bring you another edition of Rising Friday. Good morning, Jessica.
It's good to be back, Amber.
Absolutely. We've got a lot of news to get into today. First, Hunter Biden has been indicted on 3 new federal gun charges by special counsel David Weiss. The president's son was charged with failing to disclose drug use when seeking to buy a weapon, as well as unlawful possession of a firearm while addicted to a controlled substance.
Hunter Biden's attorney, Abbe Lowell, took to Good Morning America this morning to make his client's case, saying it will be likely dismissed before it reaches court due to the, quote, unconstitutionality of the statute.
We've got an all-star panel joining us now to weigh in. Former Trump White House Associate Counsel and Vice President at Restoring Integrity and Trust in Elections, May Mailman, and former Biden White House aide and Democratic strategist, Michael LaRosa. Welcome to you both. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I want to start with you, Michael. What is Abbe Lowell talking about when he says unconstitutionality of the statute? Is the Biden team going to defend Hunter on Second Amendment related grounds?
No, I believe it was the Third and Fifth Circuit who have found the statute unconstitutional. So that's what he's referring to. That there are, I guess, no, it's put both parties in kind of an awkward irony, I guess, that one is fighting for limits on gun rights and the other isn't.
May, I want to bring you in here as well. What do you make of this recent development? I mean, folks have been following the Hunter Biden case for quite some time. We thought they had reached this agreement that he wouldn't be prosecuted for this. Now he is being prosecuted for this. Does this put the attorneys in a position where they were not prepared to defend Hunter Biden, and that's left them in kind of a predicament here?
Yeah, I mean, there's awkwardness all the way around. And if I was Abbe Lowell, I would not be counting on this statute being unconstitutional. But yeah, so as was exposed by the New York Times of all places, that the DOJ wasn't planning on bringing anything against Hunter Biden. They were completely slow walking this. And then you had the whistleblowers come. So then they decided to bring a plea deal. And then the judge said this plea deal seems extremely bizarre. So then that broke down so that they decided to bring the lowest level charge. And we still don't actually know what they're going to do with the charge. A plea deal is still possible even after an indictment has been brought. There's no reason why he would be charged to the full extent of all 3 charges. Just the diversion of agreement, which means they weren't going to bring it in the first place, is done. So I do have a lot of questions about why they were dragging their feet. And I guess we'll never have answers to that from David Weiss, because he's now been made a special counsel to insulate himself from himself. So I guess we have to wait for the House to tell us what's going on here. But I don't expect that the Department of Justice is going to be entirely forthcoming, because this is an ongoing case.
Right. And May, if I can follow up on that, one of the issues with that plea agreement just a month or so ago was that it had this clause that would essentially give Hunter Biden immunity from future charges related to the facts of the case, which could conceivably cover pretty much all of his business arrangements, because it talked about his work at Burisma and with these other foreign companies. Is there any chance that something like that will try to be brought back by the DOJ prosecutors, or is that completely dead, you think?
I guess it depends on whether they think they can get away with it. And I think at this point, they probably think that they can't. And one of the, Biden's DOJ was never going to bring big and scary charges. The fear was always that one day Biden is not going to be president, and how do we insulate Hunter Biden from that day? So, that really will be the question. I don't expect for the Department of Justice to bring foreign agents charges or anything much bigger than the gun case we see here. But will DOJ be able to sign some sort of agreement that will help insulate Hunter Biden in the future? And if they could do it, I think that they would. But now that the public is a little bit aware of this, I actually don't expect for something that sweeping to be presented again.
So, Michael, we saw Karine Jean-Pierre decide to walk away from the press briefing. At the moment, she was asked about Hunter Biden. Of course, we have this criminal case with Hunter Biden being processed by the Justice Department, but there's also the court of public opinion. And a lot of people are paying attention to the Hunter Biden case. What do you make of that move to simply not answer questions and walk out of the press briefing?
Well, first, real quick, I just want to address one thing that I think we should clarify is that it is not the Biden Justice Department. This is the Justice Department, right? The prosecutor was appointed by Donald Trump. The case was opened by Bill Barr. It was investigated for 3 years prior to Joe Biden becoming president. If they weren't able to make a charge under Bill Barr and Donald Trump, I'm guessing they were probably never going to be able to keep making that case, no matter how long it drags out. Remember, this investigation, which most lawyers, every lawyer that I've seen on television has said would never happen, would never have been open if his last name wasn't Biden. Let's just keep in mind that it has been now longer than the Monica Lewinsky and Whitewater investigation. And all we can come up with are charges on a gun that have never, ever been prosecuted before. I think these charges were referred in Delaware in 2019. There was 3 of them. None of them were prosecuted. No charges were ever brought. So it's important for the public to know that. And it's important for the public to know that the people, David Weiss was appointed by Donald Trump, was never prepared to charge Hunter with a crime. They had a signed agreement. They had a verbal agreement. In most instances, agreements are agreements when both sides agree they have one. I'm not a lawyer, but as far as I know, when both sides say they have an agreement, you have an agreement. As far as the public relations aspect goes, look, the White House wants to keep distance from the DOJ because there's an ongoing DOJ investigation. And unlike the last administration, they don't like to use their attorney general as their own personal lawyer. And that's the kind of integrity Joe Biden has brought back to the White House by keeping the Justice Department, no matter who they're investigating, keeping on the Trump prosecutor, which I'm guessing to say if the shoe was reversed, President Trump, because we know he did this before, would fire a Biden-appointed attorney general or a Biden-appointed prosecutor.
Michael, I want to push back on a couple of things that you said there. I mean, namely, you say that the investigation taking so long and only uncovering the gun charge is proof that there's no there. But these IRS whistleblowers say that the investigation was intentionally slowed down so that the biggest charges would be beyond the statute of limitations, and so that investigators would avoid following threads to the president himself. Do you think the IRS whistleblowers are just making that up?
Well, 2 things. The senior investigator at the FBI said, actually, yes, they were. That never happened. David Weiss himself has actually said he had all the authority in the world.
Well, he's changed his story, though. He said he had all the authority. Then
he had all the latitude he needed to bring charges. He himself wrote that in a letter to Congress. All that's changed now, he has a different title bump or a different title. But the facts of the case have not changed.
Well, David Weiss has actually given different statements regarding how much authority he actually had to bring charges wherever he wanted to.
Yeah, you should read the letter.
Right. He said in the letter one thing, but then he's also stated that he was told that he could ask for the authority, but he never did because he was under the impression that it wouldn't be given to him. He's given multiple different statements about this, but May, why don't you respond to what Michael said as well?
Well, it wasn't just David Weiss, it was the FBI as well. So we should be clear. It wasn't just David Weiss who said he was not hamstrung. The FBI has also discredited the whistleblowers, and Hunter Biden's attorneys are suing the whistleblowers for potential violation of his rights as well.
I don't think discredit is the right term. The FBI has given a different statement, but May, why don't you go ahead and respond?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that the whistleblowers have been discredited. You do have 2 people who testified before Congress, and to say that two non-political, in fact, Democrat.
Now we like the bureaucracy. Do we like the bureaucracy now? Do we trust the swamp now?
Oh, let her finish. Let her finish.
Right, have testified before Congress, have said that there were 6 witnesses, and then I don't know exactly why the special counsel status wasn't given. But if you do want a special counsel to figure out what's happening, who you don't want is David Weiss, right? You want somebody who actually does not have some question around whether there's coordination with Main Justice here, whether they actually are insulated. And I know we hear a lot about this was Trump's person, but we have to remember that this is Delaware. Delaware has 2 Democrat senators. Those senators are the ones that supported David Weiss. Delaware is a state that has been run by Biden's for 50 years. I mean, President Biden was elected 50 years ago. So to say that this person is completely insulated from Biden influence, is somehow some sort of Trump hack, I think is going to be difficult for the American people to buy.
3 years under Donald Trump's DOJ. 3 years. We know he fired U.S. attorneys all the time. When they were investigating him, he fired them. He could have fired David Weiss at any time. They could have replaced him with an even more Republican. I don't know when it's going to be enough, really, to satisfy everybody's obsession with the president's son. But millions of Americans pay taxes late, file late, pay penalties and interest, and so did Hunter Biden. And again, a gun charge that has never been prosecuted before.
Well, this is based on multiple millions of dollars that are coming from foreign sources, and the whistleblowers are saying that they're not even able to ask questions about some of it. So you do have some text messages saying that you need to give 10% for the big guy. The whistleblower said that they wanted to follow up on that and that they were not given that authority. Now, that might be true. They might be just making it up. Maybe they just went to Congress and made it up. I don't know why they would do that. But I think that you would have to answer that question. Why are these whistleblowers inventing stuff about the inability for them to prosecute this case as they say they would prosecute any case?
Well, the IRS whistleblowers were not investigators, first of all. Burisma had nothing to do with the scope of the Justice Department's investigation. Absolutely nothing to do with that scope of the investigation. So you're right. They had no jurisdiction over anything that was coming into Hunter Biden's bank accounts, coming from any place of employment. So that makes a lot of sense.
Well, as they say, the normal process is follow the money. We see a lot of money coming in. We don't know where it's going. And
that's not what the
would
scope
normally
of the
happen
investigation
is
was about.
Follow the money. And they were not allowed to.
Burisma was mentioned in the
That's
plea
not what
deal,
the
so
DOJ
obviously it's part of this. And also, Burisma was mentioned in the plea deal between the DOJ and Hunter Biden.
It was part of
the fact statement. And if you're looking at whether or not someone paid the right amount of taxes or failed to pay their taxes, you absolutely have the right to follow their income sources.
We're going to have to leave this one here. We've got a lot more to talk about, and we'll continue, exploring what's going on with the Hunter Biden case, both with the House investigation and what's going on with these criminal cases. We've got more from this panel and more rising after this.